If you love me, please don't judge me. Got my hands tied, the power's above me. Don't shoot the messenger, I'm just a puppet here. If you wanna place blame, then look to the puppeteer. Family, fortune, envy, jealousy, privilege, passed on, legacy, secret, sabotage, borderline, felony, suicide, subtract, selfish, pedigree, yeah.
How's it going, everybody? It's C-RadTV back here with another video. So, of course, we are now going into part 4 of the What If NASCAR Had F1 Points in this series. So, in the last part in this series, we went through the 1970s and we saw quite a few changes. And a little bit of history was rewritten, but not a whole lot. Some things stayed the same. There were a couple things that were changed. In this part, we're going to go through the 1980s and see what would have changed and what didn't. So, of course, some for the 1980s. I'm going to show the point system that was used in this video right here. And before we jump right into it, let me just stress out that this is just a hypothetical scenario. I know everyone would have raced differently had this point system been in play. This is just for fun. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead, let's jump right into it. So in 1980, you had a close three-man battle for the championship between Cale Yarborough, Dale Earnhardt, and Darrell Waltrip. All three were very consistent and were neck and neck with each other for much of the season. This race would end up being decided with one race to go, with Cale Yarborough locking the championship up on a tiebreaker over Dale Earnhardt. So Cale Yarborough would lock up the championship with a race to go. Cale Yarborough would win his 4th championship under this format in 1980. And this would have been Cale Yarborough's 4th championship in 5 years. So 1981, the season was all about Darrell Waltrip, who was just flat out very dominant, very consistent, and fast all season. Nobody could keep up with him. The only one that could was Bobby Allison, but Bobby just could not keep up with him in the long run. And Darrell Waltrip would end up pulling away from him, and Darrell Waltrip would easily cruise to his 1st championship. So, 1982, it was the same deal as 1981. Wash, rinse, repeat. Bobby Allison was a little closer to Darrell Waltrip, but Darrell was still fast and consistent, and Bobby just couldn't keep up at the end of the year, and Darrell Waltrip would easily cruise to his 2nd consecutive championship. So, 1983, we finally had the championship battle of Darrell Waltrip versus Bobby Allison. It was finally a close battle. Both drivers were neck and neck with each other all year. Both were right with each other. Both made a solid argument for the championship. But at the end of the year, Darrell Waltrip would just get on a run at the end of the year and just would not let up on Bobby Allison. And Darrell Waltrip would end up locking up the title over Bobby Allison with 2 races to go in the season. So Darrell Waltrip would end up winning his 3rd straight championship under this format. And that would make Darrell Waltrip the 2nd driver under this format to win at least 3 championships in a row. So, in 1984, we had a 3-man battle for the championship between Darrell Waltrip, Terry Labonte, and Harry Gant. All 3 were neck and neck with each other all season. Darrell Waltrip was, though, easily the faster of the 3, and Darrell Waltrip was able to be fast and consistent, and Darrell got hot at the right time in the year, And this would be Darrell Waltrip. He would lock up the championship with one race to go in the season. And Darrell Waltrip would win his 4th consecutive championship. So under this points format, Darrell Waltrip would have been the first driver to win 4 consecutive titles under this format, not Jimmy Johnson. And keep in mind, this was at a time where Darrell Waltrip was the most hated driver in the sport. Just imagine how much heat and hate he would get if he actually won 4 straight championships in real life in the 80s, when the hate for Darrell Waltrip was at its peak. Now, Terry Labonte would gain some points on Darrell Waltrip in the finale with a 3rd place finish, when Darrell had an engine failure in the finale at Riverside. But all that did was just make the championship look a lot closer than it actually was. So 1985, it was all about Bill Elliott, aka Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. As Bill Elliott, he was just very fast, very consistent all year. This was also the year that Bill Elliott won the Winston Million, where he won 3 of the 4 crown jewels to lock up $1 million. The only crown jewel he didn't win was the Coke 600, but he won the Southern 500, he won the Talladega 500, and he won the Daytona 500. So he won 3 of the 4 crown jewels, because Winston was doing a thing back in the 80s where if you won at least 3 or 4 of the crown jewel races, you would win $1 million. And the first year they did it, Bill Elliott would lock it up. And then Bill Elliott would put the icing on the cake. He would pull away from Darrell Waltrip. And Bill Elliott was flat out consistent. He would lock the championship up and cruise away from Darrell Waltrip. Just Darrell had no answers for Bill Elliott's speed and consistency, and Bill Elliott would win his first championship 3 years sooner than he did in real life, and he would end Darrell Waltrip's championship streak. So 1986, we had a very close championship battle between Dale Earnhardt, Tim Richmond, and Darrell Waltrip. All 3 were neck and neck with each other throughout the season, and this championship, it would have been the first time since 1973 that the championship would go down to the season finale. And this championship battle, this would also be the second time that it came down to 3 drivers in the finale, as all 3 would mathematically be eligible for the championship at Riverside in the finale. First time since 1949 under this format it would happen. In the finale, Darrell Waltrip would finish 4th, which would not be enough for him to lock up the championship. Now in the finale, Tim Richmond would win at Riverside, so Tim Richmond would do everything he would need to win the championship. But Dale Earnhardt did what he needed to do too. And Dale Earnhardt would finish 2nd to Tim Richmond in the finale. And that 2nd place finish would have been enough for Dale Earnhardt to edge out Tim Richmond by just 3 points to win the championship. So under this format, Dale Earnhardt would win his first championship in 1986. And Tim Richmond to this day will still be one of the biggest what-ifs in NASCAR history. So 1987, it was all about Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt would easily be flat out consistent and strong. Just no one had an answer for Dale Earnhardt in 1987. No one could match the Intimidator. And yeah, this season, Dale Earnhardt would cruise to a 2nd consecutive championship in 1987. Also, I should mention in 1987, this was also the year that Tim Richmond would end up getting AIDS. So yeah, when I meant back in 1986 that Tim Richmond would be the biggest what if, this is what I meant. What if Tim Richmond never developed AIDS? Or if he learned how to wear a condom? But yeah, anyway, Dale Earnhardt would still win a 2nd championship under this format in 1987. So in 1988, you had a two-man battle for the championship between Rusty Wallace and Bill Elliott. Both drivers were neck and neck with each other all season. Both made solid claims for the title. Both were dead even all year. But at the end of the year, Rusty Wallace, he would just pull away from Bill Elliott at the end of the year. And Rusty Wallace would lock up the championship with one race to go in the season. And then Rusty Wallace would put the exclamation point on this championship battle by winning the season finale at Riverside anyway. So Rusty Wallace's first championship would have came a year sooner than it did in real life. And Rusty would beat out Bill Elliott for the 1988 championship. So, of course, 1989, this is actually a very interesting season. You had a lot of great moments in 1999. Like, you had the double turn moment between Rusty Wallace and Darrell Waltrip at the 1989 All-Star race, where Rusty would dump Darrell Waltrip for the win. And then you had the fans would change their opinion, where Darrell Waltrip went from being the most hated guy in the sport to one of the most liked. And Rusty Wallace went from being among the most liked people in that sport to one of the most hated. But overall, in terms of the championship, this would end up being a four-man battle for the championship between Rusty Wallace, Dale Earnhardt, Darrell Waltrip, and Mark Martin. But Mark Martin, his consistency would start to fall off the second half of the year, and Mark Martin would end up falling out of it. So the championship, it would come down to three drivers. It would come down to Rusty Wallace, Dale Earnhardt, and Darrell Waltrip for the finale in Atlanta. Rusty Wallace would struggle in the finale and finish 15th. Darrell Waltrip would finish 5th in the finale, but that would not be enough to overtake Rusty Wallace. Like, the top three were so close, the top three were only separated by 2 points in the final tally. Dale Earnhardt would win the finale at Atlanta. Like a close championship battle to where for the first time since 1951, this championship would end in a tie between Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt. The tiebreaker in this championship battle would once again be most wins, which Rusty Wallace had 6 wins to Dale Earnhardt's 5 wins. So Rusty Wallace would lock up the championship over Dale Earnhardt on a tiebreaker, and Rusty would edge out Darrell Waltrip. So under this format, this would be Rusty Wallace's second consecutive championship, and what would have arguably been the closest championship battle in NASCAR history. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this part of the What If series. So this part, we saw a number of changes in the 1980s. Like, in terms of the championships, this part saw the most championship changes in the series, with 5 title changes happening in the 1980s. The titles that would have changed would be 1980, 1983, 1984, 1985, and 1988. We also saw 2 championship battles go down to the final race with 1986 and 1989. And under this format, in this decade, we would see that Cale Yarborough would have 4 championships along with Darrell Waltrip. Bill Elliott's first championship would have came 3 years sooner than it did in real life. Dale Earnhardt would only have 2 championships at this point. And Rusty Wallace would have 2 championships instead of 1 at this point. So yeah, still it was a very competitive decade for sure in the 1980s. Easily the most competitive decade in NASCAR history. And this was, of course, a decade that started NASCAR's slow growth to becoming the popular sport that it was. So the next part of this series, we will go to another competitive decade, the 1990s, where the sport really went into a full-on peak boom, to where it would be the start of where NASCAR would almost rival the NFL in ratings and in popularity in America. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up here for this part. I'll see you all in the next part when we go to the 1990s. But yeah, 80s were definitely an interesting decade for sure. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up. That's all I got to say. Hope everyone's a great day, and yeah, peace out.